you've got, and you
Okay.
need 11. So you just invite Dave from the Dog and Dog, who probably smoked 65 cigarettes and can't kick a ball.
Okay. Well, who's that, me or you?
I don't know. It's just the reference of who's that guy? Oh, it's Dave from the Dog and Duck.
Okay. All right. All righty. So, we'll start with Ollie Hollands, and then we'll go from there. Ready?
Yeah, go on.
All right. Ollie Hollands, 19 games, Pom, 2 goals, debuted in 2023. He is born on the 16th of January, 2004. You got to speak to Ollie in a rare instance. You got to speak to him and really meet him before he came to the club. How do you see where Ollie's at right now?
Well, I mean, I think last year was a really solid coming together for him. I mean, I think the thing that really impressed me was it's quite hard when you're a kid. Well, it's probably quite easy when you're a kid to be big and tough. But when you're playing against men, that's a little bit harder. And you do see that quite a bit. The consummate tough guy, a great example is Jason Horne-Francis. Real big and tough against kids. When he came into the men's big league, you've got like Jesus laughing in your face, where when he was a junior, he was the big daddy. He was the man. And I think the one thing that shined with Ollie is he managed to transfer that perseverance, that real intensity, which is rare for a winger, has to be said. Wingers genuinely are considered outsiders. They're not tough guys. I think that intensity, and he really started to find the pace of the game, didn't he? Towards the end of the year, particularly, it seemed to become normal to him. And just from seeing him at training, it looks like he's put on a little bit more size, but that intensity, that pace is there. And he's probably learning, in my opinion, off one of the best wingers in the league in Blake Acres. He doesn't get enough kudos, Blake Acres, that he can defend, he can attack, he can do everything. So he's really got a really good role model there. And I really like where Ollie is. I think he's really owned that role. And it's tough. You look at James Jordan at Melbourne 2 years ago. Everyone was raving about him, and they've packed him off to Sydney. It's hard to back that up in your second year. So he's got a good base. We're now looking to see him add them layers, where I think Karl Amon will be his end product, to be honest with Ollie.
Wow. Well, I had a look at his year. So he played every game up until round 11. And then he missed, and he came back in the side in round 19 against the Eagles and played every game up until then. And I still remember seeing him for the first time in the flesh and making comments around the size of him. And you know that phrase, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. Feel like that encapsulates Ollie Hollands. What he may have lacked in, a thick, mature body, he made up and then some with his determination, his heart, his running ability. And I said this in a previous video that I did. He's got these Sam Walsh-esque qualities at training when I watch him train. Every single movement is done at 100% intensity. And the longer you do that, the quicker you get and the better you get. And I've gone from thinking of him as, we'll give him some time, he's quite young. And now I sense this, I sense something different about him. He's a lot more active around the club. I've heard him speak a bit more with Carlton Media. It looks like there's a real fast track happening with his development.
Spot on. I think we talked about Karl Amon just earlier. I did. You look at Karl Amon and him at the same year, and Karl Amon I consider the best winger in the league of sustainability. I know people talk about Ed Langdon. I don't think they're as good as Karl Amon. He's killing him at an early stage in his career. He's absolutely dwarfing him in a team that I think is not as established as Karl Amon. Karl Amon's team was quite established, and there were senior players to learn on. I think both Ollie and Blake have come into a side that wingers are a myth. And I think you're spot on. I think he's learning his development. Big takeout as well from training is he's constantly talking. He's almost a senior player. And that was the thing that I got when I spoke to him. He's a learner. He's a leader, and he talks a little bit about Elijah in our interview, about that Elijah's more spontaneous in the moment, where he's been the little brother of learning from his brother's mistakes, which anyone who's a middle brother or a younger brother can probably attest to. You saw your older brother get bollocked. You kind of learn not to do it because you don't want the negative feedback. So I think he's in a really good place. And you know what? Just quietly, future leader of this football club potentially. I could see Ollie very quickly being in the leadership group when we have that turnover. Cripps won't be around forever. I reckon 5 years' time, I can see Ollie being the wingman to Sam Walsh.
I watched his Summer Sessions episode with Carlton Media. I was talking to Christian, Filippo, and I felt the same. I felt a real comfort level. It's almost like watching a third, fourth, fifth year player talk. And I guess being a Carlton person helps. You understand the depths, the passion of the club. But one thing also that he mentioned, and that looks like is going to be happening, is that he's going to be a little bit more time on ball as opposed to on the wing. I don't know if it'll take away completely from his game on the wing, but I sense that there will be more space for more rotations for him. And that's leading me to wonder, what does the next layer for him look like in 2024?
Well, I mean, we know Voss towards the end of the year as well, especially when Carlton started to turn it around. A big highlight of that was from 6 rotations in the middle. We were at 9, 10. Towards the end of the year, we were up the top end, 12. And people forget about Ollie. That was his job as a junior. As a junior, he was down the back. He was on the ball, on the wing. He made his name as a winger, but the inside midfield spurt was probably the big highlight and probably what got him into the top 10 reckoning. I think you'll probably see him probably have that kind of David Cunningham type centre bounces. They'll start feeding it in situations. We saw, even though it was by accident, he did it against Melbourne a couple of times and streamed out of the centre. He's very elusive, and it's that common myth. Doing the draft a lot, people look at the weight and constitute that as his ability to go inside. People forget wingers, their job is not to get touched, and he doesn't get touched. He's very elusive, and I think he's got that. I think you'll surprise, and I mean, probably moving down the track, if he's going to watch anyone, probably Lockie Whitfield is the man he wants to base it on, who is the Swiss Army knife for footballers. They play him down half back, half forward, wing, on the ball. That would be a very big string to his bow if over the next 2 years he can ascertain his inside game. And then suddenly you've got a guy who can play 4 roles on the team sheet, which is huge in game.
Yeah. I quite like this comparison. It's a bit of Cade Simpson. I can't help but feel like he's going to be a player that the longevity will be one of the things spoken about his career when it's all said and done.
Yes, it's a good example. I mean, if anyone wants to see what Ollie's like on the ball, I think on YouTube there is the VFL game he played against Collingwood as a junior, as a kid, when the academy played. And he was playing against some men, some big brutes, and they couldn't touch him. He was dancing around. Braden Sear played that game, and Sear couldn't get near him. So he's got a natural elusiveness, and I think he'll be a fan favourite. I think that's the one thing that draws you to Ollie, is his effort. He never stops trying. And I mean, this guy has got something wrong with him, hasn't he? He's not scared to tackle a ruckman or a small forward. No one is too big for Ollie. And as he fills out and he gains confidence in his body, he could be one hell of a footballer, which I think he is already. I think he's already a very good footballer. I think he could be another level. And I think he encapsulates what Voss wants, the never say die attitude. I think we need more Ollie Hollands in the world, and I think he'll have a big year this year.
100%. Yeah. No, I'm bullish. There's a new wave of bullishness about me when it comes to him. I can't explain it. I think it's the training sessions that I've seen at the end of this year, been to both open training sessions, and just seeing him talk a little bit more and just feeling more of a comfort with him. So that's Ollie. let us know what you think about Ollie Hollins for the upcoming 2024 season. Very good. So for those of you watching right now, as you can tell, very impromptu live, but this is how we film the previews. So you're welcome to contribute in the comments while we film them. And then at the end of this, I'll download this and then I'll be editing the videos and re-uploading them individually. So this is a bit of an exclusive insight as to what happens behind the scenes at BA. Pom, this is I've sprung this up on you.
Hey, I've got to edit myself more.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. I like this. It's easy for you on the edit as well.
Yeah, correct. So while we are filming, so for those of you who are here, we've got Orazio Fantasia, Charlie Curnow, Alex Cincotta, and Ashton Moyer coming up. While we are filming the individual previews, you'll know when we're doing them. Feel free to write some sort of a comment about the player that we're talking about, and then I'll add them into the video, and then we will you will see these probably come out individually. I would say from the next few days. So that's that. All right, we're gonna go Orazio Fantasia. Okay. Orazio Fantasia, 99 games, 141 goals, born on the 14th of September, 1995. Pom, you've anointed him a Pom. You've already given him the Pom. What's the prefix?
Pomtasia. Now, I'm a sucker for a flash in a pan player, I've got to say, and I've got to say, Orazio's it. I think small forward has been probably the biggest bugbear, has been a Carlton fan for a long time, and I also think the biggest issue with our football club is we see the work Doc did down the back in the interim, who we know is a natural leader. We know now Wheatery and Sard are them guys, and Doc's gone to help in the midfield to give some much leadership there. Then I look in the forward line and I look, Harry and Charlie, are they natural leaders? Probably not. Do you know what I mean? No disrespect to them, but I think they're still young and they're still working on their craft. Matty Owies is probably the senior statesman up there, but basketballer, this is his secondary, and he's had to mechanically learn. I love the fact that the Raz Dog is here, because I feel like although he's played 99 games and he's had a plethora of injuries, I feel like Fantasia's been there and done it. He's been there and done it. There is no doubt when the ball hits the deck, in my opinion, he's in the upper echelon of every player in the league at the moment. Lou nails it, X Factor. This guy is it. And the only negative I've got is his beard growth is a little bit pants, and that's why I've anointed him a Pom, because I feel him. I know what it's like to be pushing into your 30s and not be able to grow a beard. But I think Orazio last year in his Sandful year, and watching a lot of the Sandful, because some great kids are in the Sandful, it was a return to vintage Fantasia. This guy was back. He looked fit. He looked sharp. Seeing him play for the Sandful Port side, his leadership came into it. You saw him constantly helping the younger guys. My mate Tom Scully, you could see him constantly talking to him. He's here now. I can't wait to see him, because I feel like Fantasia is the missing ingredient for that forward line, because this guy here, bang for buck, he kicks goals from nothing, and we don't have that on the list. And I can't wait to see Orazio. I'm a big fan. I've always liked him at Port. I liked him at Essendon even as well. I can't wait to see him play for the Blues. I feel like this is the smoking gun that we were waiting for, and no one's talking about him. Yeah.
So I had a look. Let's set the scene of his career. So in terms of what he's capable of doing, goal tallies per season in a season. So 2016, which was his third season, played 19 games, kicked 29 goals. The following year, 2017, 20 games, 39 goals. The following year, 2018, 13 games for 20 goals. 15 games for 20 goals in 2019. Then it really started kind of going south for him in his body. Played the 5 games in 2020. Had a bit of a resurgence his first year at Port Adelaide, 15 games, 28 goals. 2022 only managed the 1 game, and 2023 only managed the 3 games, and he kicked the 2 goals. So that's the scene for him. I wasn't aware about his injury stat. I mean, I wasn't aware how serious it was and how much his injuries kept recurring until he did his press conference when he was announced as a Carlton player. And I think with that comes, I'm pretty big on the whole having a weight to carry. And I think his weight to carry is, can I do it again? He's obviously got the doubts creeping in about his body. It would happen to any player who, gets consistent soft tissue injuries or any injury for that matter. And so I can't help but feel that if I'm him, I'm thinking, I have not played my best footy yet. He's a little bit older. Obviously, he's pushing closer to 30. So, that's a factor. But I really do believe that he would think he hasn't played his best football. And it's a what if. I think he falls into the what if category. But the other variable to this situation is, mate, we brought back Charlie Curnow. We brought back Caleb Marchbank, Dave Cunningham, Jack Martin. These are guys who maybe not so much Curnow and Marchbank, but the others, and McGovern you can add in there, soft tissue injuries consistently. And we found a way to get them onto the park consistently in 2023. So it's a big hope, but I'm with you. If he's healthy and available, can't see how he's not in the side.
I think
if we're playing to win.
I think he's a walk-up start. I don't think, no disrespect, and we know I'm huge on our smalls and their potential, particularly Jesse Motlop. Don't think anyone can hold a torchlight to Razia when he's playing at his best. I don't think anyone's close. And I think Jesse can be, but I think pound for pound, this guy can do it. And you've only got to look, only a couple of years ago, he destroyed the flag winners single-handedly, Geelong. Absolutely tore them apart. And Geelong are one of the most prudent sides against small forwards. That they really do stifle them. It's the bigs that get them, the smalls they handle. And he's a touch of class. I mean, you look at some of the games that Orazio's played in his career, like 5 touches, 4 goals, things like that. Like, that is what we don't have. A lot of our players seem to need the ball a little bit to give us an output. Orazio's that guy who floats around, does nothing all game. The ball comes to him 3 times. Bang, bang, bang. See you later. And good example of what that can do to your team is someone like Mr. Ginnivan, who we don't like. We look at his year. He used to do that quite frequently for Collingwood, having 0 output, then suddenly bang, 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 and it changes momentums of the game. And I feel like his leadership, his knowledge, but also just his skill set. He's a very crafty footballer, and we haven't had that in the forward line since Mr. Eddie Betts hung up his boots. This guy will command respect, and you can see it. Even when he's been injured, teams command him respect because they know what he's capable of. And you know what? I get a little bit of an impression watching his interview. He gives me a bit of Adam Sard vibes when he left Port. He was underappreciated, and I don't think he was appreciated at Port either. A lot of the Port fans were calling for him to make the side late last season when they had that blip and he never got called in. It was funny that Voss quickly made the phone call. I think Voss knows something that most people don't, and he's talked about his rapport with Vossi. I reckon that this could be the sign of the season. Going early, reckon this is the sign of the season. Every year, we had Blake Acres last year. I feel like it's this guy. I feel like this guy is the one that's going to blow us away, and everyone's going to go, how did they get him for nothing?
Yeah. I'm with you. And this here is a really good point that I want to touch on. You did glance over it earlier. So we talk about what he brings on the field, but what he brings off the field. So where we are at right now with our small forwards is that they're still young. And that is the core small forwards that we've identified. So I'm talking about the Corey Durden, Jesse Motlop. If you want to add Matt Owies there, as you said, Matt Owies he's not young in terms of age as an AFL player, but he is young in terms of how long he's played the game. And as you said, he's a bit more mechanical. Orazio's got, he's that saying, athlete versus footballer. Orazio's that natural footballer. And imagine all the lessons he would have gained over his career up until this date. for him to be able to pass that on to Corey, to pass that on to Jesse, even Matt Owies to an extent as well. I think that is where we're going to see a lot of a benefit of having him. And probably as fans, we won't really get to feel that and see that day to day. But I can't imagine how that's not the case. The knowledge that he can pass down to these younger, less experienced small forwards, I think he's going to be a real factor about having him at the club for 2 years.
I think the biggest thing as well is if anyone wants to go back and just watch him play games, is this guy is Mr. Front and Centre.
Yeah.
He doesn't piss about, going wandering. He doesn't have a cup of tea on the halfway line or go and chat to the cheer squad. This guy lives at his feet of his bigs. And I think the Fremantle game, I know we're going way back now. I don't want to be that guy, but 2018 when he was playing for Essendon, all of his goals there were pure opportunist goals. And you think he's playing off Harry, playing off Charlie, him instilling that on Jesse, who I think is an incredible ceiling footballer. Motlop gets that confidence, and it's even 5% of what Orazio does. We could on paper have the best small forward line in the competition. The most irritating at the moment could be the most potent, because Harry and Charlie is crumbs.
Yeah.
We just need the pigeons. And
True.
I don't like Mosquito's fleet. I want the pigeon squad just eating the crumbs. And I reckon Orazio is a gift that hits. A gift that hits.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm excited for him. I've got a lot of hope for him and his body. He didn't train in that final session that the club did. He did a modified program, so they'll ease him into the new year. And it's a fingers crossed. Get your body right. Get some consistency into your training, and really the most important thing is having him available when it matters. I'd love to say, he could play 20, 22 games, but we'll just see how it goes. My hope for him is it's at least 14 to 15 games. And, in the lead up to finals, we've got him there as a potential inclusion in the side, but we'll wait and see. What about you at home? Let us know what you think about Orazio Fantasia. Very good.
18 plus games. Flagville.
I like that.
I'm telling you. You start calling him Orazio Flagtasia.
Flagtasia. That is the one. That is the one. Hey, for those of you who have joined us while we're filming that, so we're just filming the previews. We're filming 5 previews. We've got Charlie Curnow coming up, Cincotta and Ashton Moyer. These will end up being downloaded and re-uploaded individually. I'll add highlights to the actual previews. And also for those of you who are in the chat while we're filming the players, the play previews, we'll have your comments up there as well. So this is just a bit of something different, bit of a look into what happens behind the scenes at BA and how we get the previews done. So don't mind me doing the intro and the outro every time a new player comes. Still got to get used to that.
We haven't clicked live, just forgetting.
Yeah.
We know.
All right. Your man next. Or should we leave him to the end?
Charlie's good all years round.
No, we'll go.
First, second, third, fourth, fifth. The mark.
We'll go Charlie. All right. Here we go. Charlie Curnow, 110 games, Pom, 224 goals. He's born on the 3rd of February, 1997. This is your man, so I feel like I should pass it over to you pretty quickly.
Born just close enough to have to partake in Valentine's Day, poor Charlie. If it was a week later, he could maybe take the gloss of it, but 2-time Coleman already, soon to be 3. A man that's growing before our very eyes, I feel as well. I feel like just whenever you've got a question about him, he answers it. Phenomenal year last year, wasn't it? I mean, the guy was an animal at times, particularly when we started to hit the front. He was a staple when we were struggling, but when we really started to turn around, you saw him have a day out. The Collingwood game for me is probably the best we've seen Charlie. play, the game we won. I thought that really showed a man that can do what he needs to do. And I know last year I said that we're going to be talking about a 100-goal footballer. I feel like this is the year now. I feel like he's really added that string. People forget Charlie's big thing last year was his ability to take contested marks, which people forget. I think people always think Harry is the main man. This guy was ranked number 1 for contested marks in the league, top 5 for marks inside 50, top 10 for score involvements. He's adding the strings. He's adding the strings, is Charlie. And we've just talked about Orazio. People will talk about Harry. He hasn't played with anyone at his level yet. They haven't been there. Harry hasn't been the best Harry. Orazio hasn't played with him yet. That makes him even more devastating when there's players around there that can take the game away. There was points last year where Charlie was it, which I think people forget. And you saw that in the finals. Everyone did focus on Charlie and he struggled. This time next year, we're having the conversation. Harry's hit his best. Orazio's hit his best. Jesse's hit his best. This guy will blitz 100. Blitz 100 goals when that happens.
I guess it's a good time to touch on the narrative that you see has already started to be formed by the mainstream media. I think David King probably started this off. Kane Corns has had his piece about it, and that's, the final series. And look, the recency bias always creeps in whenever we're talking about players. We always remember their last few games for whatever reason. It's the latest. It's the last memory we have of them. But without Charlie, we don't play finals. It's really as simple as that. That's how I see it. I know that we're a much better team, but I feel like he was instrumental in us winning the game. I can think of 3 games off the top of my head. Geelong round 2, Collingwood the second time, and the Gold Coast game, where if he did not play, I do not think we win those games. And, for all the talk about his final series, I just think that adds another challenge for him. I don't think much phases him, to be honest. He's already been through, I would say, the worst in terms of the fear of his career not even happening again. So I think he's already had the grounding. We were doing the previews for Charlie Curnow 3 years ago with an attitude and a tone of, it would be good to see him play again just one more time, but probably not going to see the best of him because it's just too many surgeries now. So, I'm not worried about his final series. I think you can only get better at playing finals football the more you play finals football. I think also, let's look at the context. Sydney game, Harry was a little off. He got the concussion as well. Then he didn't play the next game. So you're coming up against the Ds who have Stephen May and Jake Lever with no Harry Mackay in the side to relieve that pressure. And then, the prelim final, kicks a goal. He wasn't at his best, but I think it's unfair to suggest that we should be focusing squarely on his final series.
You look at the people complaining about the final series, though. I mean, they don't know anything about football, that's for sure. Yeah. And I'd say 95.9 of them don't know anything about life. Do you know what I mean? It's that simple. Underline it. Do you know what I mean? Quote me on that. At the end of the day, the guy, literally, as you say, he was our only hope at times. Yeah. Charlie Curnow is the reason we played finals. Let's not mistake that. And he's taken the pressure off Harry. He's repaid Harry for the times Harry's led the forward line when Charlie was hurt. The final series wasn't great. I think if you look at it, though, in isolation, I think the Melbourne game, they triple teamed him and it allowed the midfield to stand up and kick goals from other avenues. The difference is, though, that, do you know what I mean? He's the only forward that features inside the top 10 of players' minutes played percentage per game. So I think a big part of that was fatigue as well. But you look at that, he was double teamed all 3 games. So that's something that he's got to adapt, but that's also something the team has to adapt. And going back to my earlier point, once Harry's at full flight, once the Smalls are at full flight, that can't happen anymore. Because you watch the Melbourne game, it was very easy. Once you took that exit ball to Charlie, kind of came off and Cowan had to get creative. You look at the mid-season, though, everyone was partaking. the great game is the Collingwood game where they did a number on him quite early with Charlie. Then other players started getting involved. They had to loosen their structure a bit. Charlie found a way. So as we move on, that's going to be something that's developed. But I mean, come on. Do you know what I mean? I think Charlie's already proven the guy is great. The guy is great. And I think the narrative for me, and John nails it, I think the narrative is if you're a Carlton fan, you're not a real Carlton fan if you're complaining about Charlie, because you're already buying into the narrative. So do you know what I mean? You're already buying into it. He needs our support. And for me, you're either stupid or don't understand life if you think Charlie has had a bad final series because it had an F word. Do you know what I mean? I think he'll be better for the experience, and I think he'll prove people wrong. And you know what? Yeah. I wouldn't like to be a defender week 1 of finals against Mr. Charlie.
Yeah. What I noticed about him this year, I mean, he kicked obviously 81 goals for the year, so goal kicking became more of a feature. He had teams in all sorts. The Collingwood game is a great example. That they resorted, he had them panicking. He kind of gets into defenders' heads. He had them panicking all year. And then I think his ability to get other players involved in the game is where I started to see that next layer for him. And there's been a comparison made to the way Jeremy Cameron plays now, where a little bit more up the ground. You see him kicking the ball inside 50 a little bit more. I have flashes of, Charlie kicking over the top to Matt Owies against the Ds, moments like that. I'd like to see more of that because Charlie's one of, I would say, 2 or 3 players in the side where he's got, I don't know what word to use other than the magic. Like when he gets the ball, things happen. Magical things happen that not many players can do. And his ability to get his teammates involved is how he shares that magic. And so can he kick 100 goals? He can. Certainly capable. Do you think we need him to kick 100 goals? That's where I'm questioning, because I'm not sure if we try and maybe use him a little bit more up the ground than what we have in the last 2 seasons.
For me, I thought it was a no-brainer. I'm glad the media, the one time I'll support the media is they've started to suggest that. I think centre-half forward is easier for Charlie. I think his entry inside 50 is superior to Harry's. And I think Harry would benefit more being closer to goal and being that force and really relying on his one-on-one work, which we know Harry is a freak. He can beat 5-6 players on his own. And I will say that Harry is superior in that contested marking than Charlie. I do think as well, the other thing as well, which really excited me from watching just the training, was the real effort on forward half handballs and creating space and changing the angles. And Wowdy made a great point. I think it was Wowdy. Lou. I apologize. Lou Felina. Carlton's instinct, and it's not Harry's fault, but because we've had Harry for so long, the midfield has a tendency to bang it in and hope Harry can do it. And Charlie's a different type of fish. He likes the ball coming at pace and being able to move his forwards and beat his defenders to the ball. That did excite me because I feel like if we can change the angles, that's where Charlie's strong. That goal versus Melbourne, you did see that. He dragged May out of position and beat him to the ball, and that's where he's strong. So that excited me that we saw the forward half movement, the forward half in the handballs and changing the angles and not looking for that deep entry. That will help him out as well. And for me, I feel like Charlie's always going to get us that 60 goal mark. I think the 80, 100 goals will come from when everyone's playing at their pomp and it becomes hard. And you see Geelong, when they won the flag, if Tom Hawkins didn't get you, Cameron got you. If they didn't get you, Close, Stengel, they got you. And that was why it was so hard to defend against them. There was 40 goals coming from 3 players. That's when Carlton will be a force. And that's when Coleman's might be out of the question at that point, because you might have 3 blokes on 60. And that could be very exciting for Carlton.
That's a really good point. We have, we've made a prelim and that's great, but I don't think we've come close to nailing that clinical entry inside 50. We've seen it here and there. I think when Jack Martin plays, we see it a little bit more. I think when these types play, maybe Jack Silvani as well. But I'm with you. Once that ball enters our forward 50 in positions that are a lot more advantageous to our forwards than what we currently see, it's going to be a lot better. Right now, if you look at the goals that the forwards kick, I don't know what the stat is, but how many of them are from the boundary line? It's wide right now. And that's probably a layer of growth for the forward line in general. The way that their leading patterns off the ball, the way they create space for others. Look, it's easier said than done. You know, they're the professionals and they'll figure it out. But there's no doubt there are layers to the way we move off the ball that can improve the opportunities we give Charlie and Harry. And, you know, I'm just looking forward to that. And, you know, all of a sudden we're talking about Charlie Curnow again entering his 9th season in the AFL, and it's wild, mate.
And he'll have his 3rd and final Coleman this year. Do you know what I mean? His 3rd and final Coleman.
Well, I look forward to it. That's Charlie Curnow. How do you feel about Charlie going into season 2024? Let us know in the comments below.
Hey, Charlie.
Way, you're just a shit, Charlie Curnow.
And IBO, it's not bagging Carlton fans. It's bagging Carlton fans that have played into the narrative that Charlie's shit. It's borderline. The most ugly thing a human being can be is apathetic to education. And do you know what I mean? 3 goals in a final series isn't great by his standards, but I think the main concern is Harry. Charlie should not be in the conversation for being triple teamed when it's never been his strength and never will be. If Harry was triple teamed, maybe we'd have a conversation that it's a concern because that's his strength. Charlie's never been a fantastic 2-on-1 forward. Never.
I don't think there are many forwards that have been who are double teamed. And so,
Harry's a freak. Harry's a freak for doing that. And probably Harry's a freak for doing that probably because we've been so shit.
Yeah.
like Harry's gift. He's been bombed on for 10 years, 4-on-1, and he's had to get good at it while Charlie was recuperating with an ACL. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a shame we didn't have both of them for 5 years to be experts at that. God bless them.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to Alex Cincotta. Ready?
Let's do Pom Cotter. Get him in me.
Alex Cincotta, also known as Pom Cotter. 19 games, 3 goals. Maybe the Cinderella story from 2023. It was a remarkable story.
It was I think for a long time, we've always complained that we buy athletes over footballers.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as Pom Cotter came into the side, you saw this guy wasn't here to sign autographs, was he? He was here to fulfill a dream. And I think the wonderful thing about Alex Cincotta is just you actually saw his development through the year. But it was that a bit like Ollie Hollands. There was no fear. As soon as he played his game, he wasn't overawed by the big lights. He didn't care if your name was Charlie Cameron or you were a first-year draftee. He hit you hard. He did his job. And at times was given the most thankless task. As a guy that loves his stats, guys who play back pocket, do you know what I mean? It's a thankless task. You ain't going to get the praise, but he's really that player, isn't he? That he's the benchmark, and you feel reliable. And towards the end of the season, feel like you could rest your hat on him, couldn't you? Because you knew he was going to do his job and he was going to fight till the end. And I think there's a lot of players in that back line for me that get way too much kudos. And it's been great this year that Nick Newman is one of them guys that finally is getting the kudos, who's been putting in shift after shift for 5 years. People started to take notice of him. Cincotta, again, is another one of them players that will just do his job and do his job well. And you know what? A lot of people are saying that it's him who's going to make way for Williams. Wouldn't be surprised, that Cincotta usurps Boyd to keep his position, because I think defensively, this guy has got it. And I think another year in the system and working with Orazio is only going to make his game better at defending these players, because whatever he hits, he destroys. And I love the Pom Cotter.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. There is a school of thought. I've probably fallen into that school of thought as well, that Zach Williams is going to enter that back line, and no matter what, he's playing. And so Jordan Boyd or Cincotta are naturally the first names that I think of who would make way. And there's something about what you said there as well, which allowed Nick Newman to flourish. Someone has to do the dirty work. And I think Newman was probably that guy for a while. And now that Zach comes into that mix, a defender who is offensively really good with ball in hand, kicks the ball really well. But in order for him to be able to do that, you need someone behind him. You need someone who's doing that lockdown job. Now, is that maybe where Cincotta can lock himself a spot as the guy who takes the dangerous small forward, the Bailey Fritsch, the Charlie Cameron, the Tom Papley? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like for him. But what I do know is that if Cincotta isn't playing, he's going to give it his all in the VFL. And if Cincotta is going to play, he's got such a good base level of experience from what he did in 2023. I mean, like I said, 19 games, played in round 6 through to 9, 12 through to 14, and then 16 all the way through to the prelim final. And so all of a sudden, talk about depth, he's definitely a name that you throw into the mix when you talk about who's the depth. But it's okay for him to be in that 22 to 28th player on the list, because let's be honest, you need 30. I think you need 30 players on a list to win a flag who could play any given week.
Yeah, and I think you saw it when we came to finals. He had a real rigid defensive job as well. We saw there was that honeymoon period around 16 to about round 20 where Voss played him a little bit more offensive, get him ahead of the ball, get him ahead and get him into that dangerous area. But then you also saw when the finals came on, it was right, less of the ball. Nick Newman's going to be the ball user. We want you to stifle. And, he's a horrible young man, is Pom Cotter. And I think I fell in love with Pom Cotter in the preseason game. There was a great little passage of play. When the umpire was busy telling someone off, he threw Taylor Adams into the stanchion. And a few of the Collingwood players were telling the umpire, and Cincotta did this whole, I didn't do it, and then turned and winked to the Collingwood fans, and they all went mental. That's what you get with Pom Cotter, and there's a little bit of a rough edge. There's a fighter, and I think whether he is in the AFL team, whether he's in the VFL team, I think every club needs a standard setter. And I think what a perfect player for a draftee, if I'm Matty Carroll, if I'm Billy Wilson, to learn off a guy that has constantly been forgotten about, has had to go the long way. 1 minute you're in the draft, next minute you're playing country football when no one knows who you are. You're working your way back into the system. What a person to be around in training to show you how fortunate you are, but how bloody hard it is to be here and what you've got to sacrifice. And I think any man who during COVID arranges with his mate to live in a gym says everything you need to know.
That's a man I want to go to war with.
Mate,
yeah.
And how he describes it, I look at sport a little bit differently. A lot of people see it as a bit of fun, something to fill a Saturday afternoon. I always reference it. It's going to war. It's battle. It's tribal. And that's how he speaks. He's going to war. He's in the trenches. It means something to him. And I think John, Lou, Wowdy all nailed it. This guy means something. It means something. And you need more people like that on the list than you don't. And I'm a big fan. And I think he'll surprise people because it's obvious Voss likes it. And you know what? I think he would be a Lee Matthews player. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Class second, punch someone in the face first.
Yeah,
That's what Chincotta is.
It's the spirit, isn't it? He plays with a spirit and a soul and a purpose. And again, I make the reference to the phrase "a weight to carry." For him, overcoming being overlooked, overcoming the injuries. I think it was 2 ACLs. Got his chance by right place, right time. Zach Williams does his ACL, and boom, Chincotta's there. Oleg Markov, I think we're looking at him, and then he's at Collingwood, and then all of a sudden Chincotta, he appears, came through the system as well. So I'm wrapped for him. I'm hopeful for him. I just hope we see more of it. I hope he never changes his approach, and I don't think he will. He's got a real humility to him, and it's one of the core values of the club now. So wishing him nothing but the best, and can't wait to see what the next version of him looks like.
I just hope that when we win the flag, Pom Cotter dresses up as Oleg Markov, and there's a picture of him going, "What might have been."
True.
Do that for me, Pom Cotter.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Wear the little flat back hat as well. Yes. Okay. Very good. So that's Alex Chincotta, ladies and gents. How do you feel about him going into season 2024? Let us know in the comments below. That's very good. I like that a lot. Dress up as Oleg Markov.
Yeah, I'm not the kind of guy, believe it or not, to complain about when Markov did that. I actually found it quite funny.
Yeah,
I always think the best way to fight them back is, you hit them when they're at their lowest. And when we win the flag, they'll be at their lowest. So that's when you pay the debt back. You pay it back then with a little bit of humour. Wow. So when they fire back at you, you're like, you did it to us. It's just a bit of love.
Just a bit of love. And we'll play them in the grand final as well, the Pies. So that'll make it all the more sweeter.
I'd love him to put the fake mustache on just at the final siren.
Yeah.
So he receives his medal with the Markov hair and the Markov. Be really petulant. I love it.
You're just a shit Chincotta.
Hey, I like a bit of petulance. It's always good.
Yeah. All right. Got one more. Ashton. When's
Ashton Moore.
Hang on a second. Ashton Moya.
Knows how to play football, does this kid?
Yeah. He does. All right. He's got a good birthday as well. Okay. Ready?
Mate, born ready.
Ashton Moya. Pom, we're talking about a guy born on the 15th of April, 2005. Fresh out of the draft. He is our latest first pick and comes to the club. Got something about him, doesn't he? He's got the 43 on his back now. There's something about this kid. How do you feel about Ashton Moya?
Well, for the long-time watchers of this show, they'll know that we've been on this guy's case probably about April last year when someone asked the question, who would we look at in the draft? And Tony Bamford, I think he's probably the best person to talk to about South Australian talent. The under-18s coach there called him by far the most naturally gifted footballer in this year's draft. And he's seen a lot of players as Mr. Bamford. He's seen Jason Horne-Francis. He's seen some big name players. And there's a rare gift about what he does. I always talk about bums off seat footballers. This guy is a bum off seat footballer. He plays the game in a way that makes me want to be 12 again and not look weird by putting footballers up in my bedroom. He's an exciting talent, a guy that can kick with both feet, a guy that invariably makes magic happen. But something that's rare for a draftee with so much talent and probably big detriment to his year this year is he brings players in as well. He isn't selfish. And that's a big thing about forwards. I'm not criticizing the other forwards in here, but there was an air of selfishness about their year where Ashton, when he came back from his injuries, you did see he was very determined to play players in and showcase his teamwork. And he is easily, and I'll stand by what I said 9 months ago, a top 10 talent in the draft that has been forgotten about. And if he's nurtured right, this kid could be everything you've ever wanted and more, because he is a footballer.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you telling me that a couple of times, and such is where the club's at right now. Let's be honest. The club's in a position that it hasn't been for a long time for us fans, where we talk about the environment. And I think we had questioned the environment for many years because constant change, tumultuous, little to no consistency being shown on the field, off the field. All of a sudden, the maturity has started to show across the board. The stability has started to show across the board. And so when you get a talent like Ashton into the club and you put him in an environment like what we have right now, a stable football club, family, value-driven football club, the ingredients make for a nice cake.
Mate, spot on. I think the wonderful thing about Ashton is he's got a big brother at that football club in Jack Martin, who probably ultimately holds the key to where in the future he will be that third goal kicker, that third talent. And I think Jack Martin's probably had a very similar trajectory in his professional career that Ashton experienced in his last year. Have never been quite right, long-term injuries. And what a great role model. And I know that Jack Martin has a position at the club where he's very active in integrating the first-year players and being like an uncle to the players. Great role model for Ashton to work on this, because he doesn't have to be ready round one. That's the wonderful thing about Ashton. He's going to get the opportunity like Ollie had, like Binsey had this year, a full year of it, of working on the technical deficiencies in his game, but rewarding his natural athletic ability. And rare type of player. Do you know what I mean? That he's incredibly athletic, but he does things that are a little bit different. And if you watch the training where I was stood with you, Terry, people were gasping at what he could do, because what he does do is sensational. And a lot of the times, the only drafty information you guys and girls get, aside from like what I do, is shitty little highlight videos. And trust me, you can make a highlight video of anyone and make them look good. Ashton's whole games are highlight reels. Like every game he's ever played that I've watched all the way through, it's them little moments he does make you go, wow, this kid can play. And Chills asks anyone who he likes, who he could be like. I actually see him playing a little bit higher up the ground and getting a bit of hands on the ball. And I think that Glenelg, not saying they used him wrong, they really did limit what he did when he started getting the injuries. I can see a Bailey Fritz appearing from this guy, a guy that really is that third target. He loves to run from the pocket. We've seen Bailey Phillips and Bailey Fritz against us, lives in the pocket, marauds up to half forward, and suddenly no one takes him. I feel like this kid here is special and an incredible talent. I think Bailey Fritz will be, if he can become like Bailey Fritz for Carlton, teams are in trouble, because suddenly that opens the door to Harry, opens the door to Martin, opens the door to Charlie. He's a very, very accomplished footballer and a wizard in the air. Wizard in the air is older. Ash.
What do you think the pathway for his 2024 year is? Because I think by default, with any first-year player, unless they're Sam Walsh, which they don't come around too often, but I feel like, I mean, I'm not limiting him. I'm sure if he wows the coaches, he might have a spot in opening round, etc. But he's going to get me to VFL games single-handedly, because I just think of that, that difference between the AFL and the VFL, and I think he's a level above the VFL, if not able to play there. And I don't mind the idea of him just having a development year for the first half. I mean, I don't know. It's a big unknown for me.
Mate, Spawn, I mean, I think you'll be shocked. I think he'll play early. I really
Yeah.
do. And I don't think he'd have to worry, because the wonderful thing about Ashton is for the last 2 years, this guy takes the piss. Like, he takes the piss. And I think that the development will come is if they add some midfield time to him. He said it himself.
Okay.
Isaac Heaney is his role model. And there's definitely scope there to be that awkward midfielder who can go forward. Lou mentions Philippo. Obviously, Philippo, naturally a midfielder who plays forward. Ashton's going to have to learn that bit because he hasn't been afforded them duties. But I think as a first-year player, this guy, I feel like Jack Silvani, he's that benchmark when he plays this role. He's the benchmark. He's AFL average. When Carlton want to go that next level, Ashton Moore can go another level. He's got skill. He is incredibly talented. And I don't want to pump the bloke's tires up, but this guy's been on the radar on this show for over a year. He is. You don't often see it. There isn't often a time that you watch a player and you get excited. And I've seen them all. I've seen them all doing this with you guys and girls. Seen all the hype. Jason Horne-Francis, all the hype. There's just something about him. And I think his storyline of struggle really appeals to me. The hip injury, relearning how to run again, relearning how to kick, regaining the feeling and the touch, and then finding it. If you go back and watch the game against the Western Australia, he absolutely pulled them apart, and they have an incredible backline. They couldn't handle him because he runs weird patterns. He doesn't do the norm, and he makes things happen, and he's an opportunist. And I'm really excited about him. And I think you'll see him play 10, 12 games this year minimum. And I think he'll be the change. He'll be the change for the Blues.
I'm excited to see him. I saw him do that match sim at the final open training session, the sidestep. I mean, I'll play it here. And I'm just excited to see him. But I don't. It's such a good position to be in now as a fan where I don't have that much expectation on him. Like, whatever he gives us to me is a bit of a bonus. He's not the great white hope. These draftees coming in are not the great white hope anymore, who we have to play. And so I just, it's a good reminder that we're in a good spot as a club, and wish Ashton all the very best, and can't wait to see him sidestep in the AFL against the Cats at the MCG.
He's got some decent celebrations as well in him, Ashton. So I'm very intrigued. We know Jesse loves bringing the NBA to the AFL. It'd be interesting to see what Ashton and Jesse. I reckon you might see some wacky secret handshakes and all sorts going on. But he loves a bomb, and I can't wait for us to see a left foot and then a right foot banana in the same game. I think we'll be very excited.
Yep. All right. Well, that's Ashton Moir. Let us know. How do you see him going into season 2024? All in a day's work, mate. There you go.
Hey, that was good fun, that. Hey, you got
that
to
was
see
great.
You got to see us work.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for those who tuned in. What I'll do is, I'm assuming you guys enjoyed watching us do the behind the scenes stuff. It only came to me as an idea very late. And to be honest, Pom's very easy when it comes to going live impromptu. So I think we'll keep doing this. I will do another live during the day where I'll film another 5. I think Ari's going to do some with me. And so for those of you, I'll give you a little bit more notice as to when we're going to be doing the previews. But if you did join late, basically this stream here, I'm going to download it. I'm going to edit each preview that we did individually, and I've got some highlights to put over the top. I'll do some editing, and then I will re-upload these previews individually. But just wanted to give you guys a chance to tune in to us during the day and have a look and see how the magic happens. Mate, that was fun. I love it.
Always fun. Always fun talking about 5 of my favourites.
Yeah.
I feel like I've left someone out. I'm getting too many favourites.
You are. You are.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, John.
Genki, he didn't play for the seniors. His second hip injury, he was named. He had a horrible luck with injuries last year. Horrible luck. It also happened as an underager as well. He was selected to play and he did himself a mischief. Incredibly unlucky. But you've got to remember when we talk about injuries with kids, they're kids. So they've got school. I've heard some horrific, I won't name draftees, but who had long-term injury problems because they were playing British Bulldog at lunchtime after hyperextending a knee, and then it's totally gone. They're now professional athletes, so they'll get round the clock good care. Like Ashton won't be pissing up a tree playing Kiss Chase on a Tuesday after sustaining a knock. I hope he doesn't. I can't quote him. It's not my fault if he does do an injury playing Kiss Chase.
Playing Kiss Chasey.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, you unlocked a lot of memories just there. I haven't used the phrase Kiss Chasey in a long, long time.
There was always that girl as well that you slowed down for. I'm sure there's the boy as well for the girls watching as well.
So
you slowed down for.
You did. You weren't quite sprinting, or you fell over.
Yeah. You fell over, or do you know what I mean? Forgot how to open a door to run away. We all did it. Do you know what I mean? You all became Usain Bolt. Do you know what I mean? And then suddenly turned into a tortoise. We all did it.
That is so funny. Yes, Genki Rose. It is worth noting that Sticks played for Glenelg.
No pressure, Ashton.
Yeah, I know.
I called him Bailey Fritz. It's okay. You haven't got much to do to beat him.
Yeah, there's a few people here in the chat who I feel like have a good historical knowledge of the club. Who would be, and maybe I'll do a video on this separate, but I'm curious for those who are here, if we did a Mount Rushmore type conversation for Carlton, so the 4 greatest players to ever play for Carlton, who are they? Because I feel like Sticks, John Nichols, would be there.
Well, I mean,
is Jezza? Is he one of those?
You see, I was thinking because, Mount Rushmore is what Tom Jefferson, Roosevelt, Lincoln, and Washington, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Like, who are the 4 greatest? Oh, Dool. Yeah, true. Bruce Dool. Dool, Jezza, John Nichols, Stephen Kernahan. I feel like are the 4 names.
Yeah,
Craig
you see Bradley always pops in.
Yeah, true.
Because, you'd say it's not the 4 greatest players, is it? Because if you count Mount Rushmore, it's iconic, isn't it? It's iconic ones. It's iconic ones, isn't it? Because they've got Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt in there, who divides America.
Who's Mezzanine? Malcolm? Who's Mezzanine?
Isn't that a flaw?
I don't know. Oh,
I'm sure someone who's posh has once said, "Oh, come out to the mezzanine."
Mezzanine.
I'm sure
Brown said, yeah.
Showing how common I am.
Maybe I'll do a video on that. I'll need to do some research to look up the number of games played. But I feel like Sticks and Nichols are a non-negotiable.
I feel like, chat, you've absolutely stiffed Mullet.
Who? Aaron Mullet.
He's got to be a fucking iconic name. Aaron Mullet would be a lock for the far left.
Well, maybe we can do a video. What's the opposite of Mount Rushmore?
Probably the Pyramids of Giza. Most overrated place you'll ever visit.
Really?
Yeah, absolute crap, man. Tell you. Built on the side of a fucking waste disposal. Shit everywhere. Not like the pictures. Absolutely. Honestly, just shows you how horrible westernization is.
The Rogues Gallery. What is that? Collection of the Rogues Gallery is a collection of images used by police to identify suspects. It's actually really cool.
If we did a shit Mount Rushmore, 4 players that do your head in, Mullet would be there, 100%. Mullet. You know, controversially, and this is just from doing this job too much, Pat Kerr. And that's going to upset some people. But do you remember Pat Kerr kicked that 1 goal, right?
Was it against Geelong and it was a Bunana? Was it that one?
Yeah. But he would 100% be in my fucking annoying 4. And the other one, just purely, and you all know it, the because he kicked that 1 goal in the preseason game, and everyone was excited about him.
Kim Leboy.
Yeah, he'd be there in my most annoying 4.
Okay, there's a video idea. I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna do some thinking about it. Okay. I'll do some digging, and I'll get something out in the next few weeks. But I just wanted to get a pulse check on that.
Just so we can talk about Aaron Mullet, we need to talk about Muzzer more.
Clem Smith. Now that's a name. Mickey Martin. Dog. Now that is a name.
You know, we should talk about. We could do what's it called? We could do Maurice Meadows. Terry's ruined that content.
So it's third time lucky though, isn't it? Because it's Nick Graham, Liam Stocker, and is it Lockie Cowan?
Yeah. So now as a rule, I just don't mention Maurice Meadows in my draft content.
They don't hand out Maurice Medals, you know that, right?
Just because of you, Terry. Well, I mean, it's all going bad ill, isn't it? I mean, like, God bless him, Clayton Oliver's a Maurice Medal winner.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think the curse is him right.
I think Cruiser might have been a Maurice medalist.
He was 07, you're right. Yeah, I mean, fuck. If you've got Hugh McCluggage in any of your dynasty teams, now's the time to trade him.
Yeah.
Because he won one as well.
Hey, do you play AFL Fantasy or Supercoach? Because I want to do a big league.
I can play whatever.
I play Draft Stars, so it makes sense for me to play AFL Fantasy, but I grew up playing Supercoach.
Mate, I'm easy. I'm easy. What I think most people play Supercoach, don't they?
Yeah, actually, I did a poll. Hang on a sec. I did do a poll on Instagram.
You know what? We actually recruited. Yeah, there's like if you go through, I've just gone through the Maurice Medals right now while we're talking, and literally we broke the Maurice Medal because there's Oliver, McCluggage, Jack Higgins, Liam Stocker, and then since then, like Lucas Rocky, no one's heard of him. Flynn Lakey, no one's heard of him. Josh Wrench, Taj Campbell-Farrell. Like we broke it. Like Lockie Coward and Kobe McKercher are like the 2 since Stocker who have been drafted. We broke the Maurice Medal. We broke it. Cowan broke the Maurice Medal.
Yeah. Well, we did. We did. All right.
Cam Paulson, Peter V.
Oh, Cam Paulson. Wow. Did we give him a 3-year deal?
This is a true story. I'm not going to reveal who it was, but when everyone was getting on his case in the first year, there is a post in a very popular Carlton Facebook group, which will narrow it down because I am in. It's one of the few ones I am in. But if you actually search it, Cam Paulson was linked to Gary Ablett Jr. Oh dear. I mean, I'm not laughing because I mean I've made some bad calls as well, but I've never gone for the GOAT.
Did we give him a 3-year deal?
And
then people wonder why we got psychotic. People wonder why we got so angry.
You know what I always think, and I think it's a really big thing, and it's why I feel like I got a little bit Nancy earlier talking about Charlie. I feel like we went one way where we got really excited. Do you remember Jared Pickett? He's going to be the next Eddie Betts. Cam Polson, oh, he could be fucking Rory Laird-off halfback. Oh, O'Brien could be Gaff. We went through a stage of getting really fucking excited about mediocre players because we wanted them to be good. And I feel like I hope we don't get to like my Manchester United stage where success blinds you and you just expect every shit bastard to be as good as the guy they're replacing, because it is really hard. So I kind of like where we are now, that we're hopeful. But do you remember, like, there was a period, wasn't there? Like, I fell into the trap, Peter V, of Reece Palmer. Oh, he's going to be good because he won the Rising Star. GWS have fucked him up. I was convinced Reece Palmer would be good, and I'm pretty sure I'm better than Reece Palmer.
The thing about it's a good point you bring up. I think we're too close to the shit years to not be humble, but I'm with you. I think once we start winning flags, the arrogance, the confidence, the swagger, I mean, it's already kind of returning. I'd like to think that because of the journey we've been on with this club, not just this particular group, I'd like to think because of the journey that we've been on as a club, having to reset properly twice, that it will hold us in good stead. And there's an interesting comment you just made there. Blinded by success.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than being a United fan at the moment, because you've either got the idiots who have completely waved the white flag and drink themselves silly because we've drawn 0-0 with fucking Liverpool.
Yeah.
And that makes me sick. Like, as if you're celebrating a draw. Do you know what I mean? I'll fucking go and drive in front of a tree now. Or you get the people who are like, oh, why can't they be like Ryan Giggs? And it's like, Ryan Giggs is a freak of nature. Like, you're asking one person to be as good as an iconic name. So I hope we don't ever get to that stage. I think like it's always going to be that. I think we are the perfect club that we know how hard it is. We know talent means fuck all in reality. Do you know what I mean? And I think the players have tried to teach us that this year. Talent means nothing. And I always look at Collingwood. In my opinion, Collingwood have got like the 7th best list in the league. Something else got them to win it. Something else.
That's something
they have, no one else has in that abundance. So for me, that we've got that now. We've got that belief. It's about keeping it, because they are going to have dire games, aren't they? Like, you just know they're going to have. Like, I keep joking to Terry, Fremantle in Adelaide has got, in my opinion, loss written all over it. Like, everyone has got 4 points. I have mentally prepared to do a watch along and us lose that by fucking a goal. And I won't even be surprised. I won't even be angry.
You know what I think? I'll tell you what I think. I think there's like... So 2022, we did great start, not so great finish. 2023 was not so great start, great finish. I believe 24 will be the great on both halves. Like, imagine 8-2 and then 8-2 again, you know?
Yeah, I've got a feeling that we're going to start being like Richmond this year. I've got that Richmond feeling where I don't mean we're going to blitz it. I mean, we're going to win games we shouldn't do. And you see a level of maturity seeping. Because I feel like that's one thing I've noticed. The class clowns of our group have matured. The class clowns are now in that intelligence area.
Well, they're dads. They're starting to become dads now and husbands.
Makes me feel normal when they're all having kids. Don't feel such an old cantankerous boot. No, but I do get the feeling that they're going to fuck up. That's going to be the biggest test as a fan base. And I'm like probably the capital of this. There is going to be a point where the high will get so high that they will They will do a Carlton. And it is the Fremantle. In my heart of hearts, it's the Fremantle game. And I promise, I'll go on record now, I will not be angry. I will not be angry. Right? Go on record now. Because my brain is just telling me everything will be high. It's a 4-pointer. And we come a cropper. We just don't perform. And it's how we bounce back from that.
I'm glad we're putting it on the agenda now. Ur with 50 says, winning the flag and S. Walsh Brownlow with Charlie a Coleman medal.
I've got a feeling Walsh
there is. I was talking to Ur yesterday, and like there's just like, you don't want to get too excited before the fact, but also you just get the feeling all the elements are there.
No, I've got a feeling it's Walsh law.
Yeah,
because I feel like Ollie Hollands has got Walsh syndrome. In the terms of what he does, he's so good that no one cares. My big bugbear with Walsh. Yeah, my big bugbear with Walsh is I think Rosie, to the untrained eye, is more eye catching in the terms of. He gets a cheap goal here and there. But if you actually watch the game, Walsh is doing everything. He's running back and making the tackle in D50, and then he's feeding the handball inside 50 on the back of the chain, right? And he doesn't get praise for it, where Rosie will do fuck all, hang about in the forward pocket, get the ball, snag it, and everyone's like, oh, Connor Rosie. But the umpires tell you Walsh gets votes because he's COVID. He's everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like Ollie's got the same syndrome that everyone gets excited because Blake Acres spoils on the line, kicks the goal to beat Melbourne. But don't see, Ollie Hollands is literally forward pocket. We turn the ball over. He's now back pocket making the tackle. And for me, it's something. Walsh is one of them players I feel no one will appreciate in the AFL other than Carlton fans properly, because we watch the game from start to finish.
My only thing about us winning Brownlows in the next 3 to 5 years is that, Cripps is a proven vote getter. Umpires he's just got that game that the umpires love. I think Walsh does as well. Charlie has 3 to 4 games a year in him where he's just so dominant that you can't not give him the 3 votes. And then I actually did a post today on Instagram where I was looking back at Cripps's Brownlow winning year, and Petrarca and Oliver, I think one was on 25 and one was on 24 votes, something like that. And that's what I kind of see happening with us. And if you look at the last few years, you've got to get 30 plus votes to win a Brownlow now. It's ridiculous.
No, I agree. I think what cost Cripps this year is I froth this Cripps year. I know a lot of people don't. I like the provider. I think you're starting to see, especially in the finals, I think that's going to be Carlton's model. And watching them in training, it looked like Walsh and Chera were playing the direct run, and Cripps now was being a thug and blocking. So I feel like Walsh is going to stand out. Walsh is that. I just think Walsh has got that Lockie Neal game. And it's really interesting. If you ever speak to Brisbane fans, and I've started watching Brisbane a little closely, Neal is everywhere. He's not what we consider when you watch the game a final third hog. He is doing everything. And that's why I think Walsh has that problem. We know he does everything, but other people go, oh, he just gets 35 cheap touches. Oh, wow, he runs a lot. But if you actually, and you speak to Brisbane fans, they're not shocked Neal wins it. Although Neal did win the Brownlow this year to make up for last year. We know the AFL is corrupt. It's like, look, we got it wrong, but you'll win it next year no matter what happens. So this year, if my theory's correct, Bont will win the Brownlow.
Yep, Bont.
It'll be Bont or Dacos.
It's actually
if someone
perfect.
Was robbed.
They lose Bailey Smith, which is awful, by the way. That's just, sending thoughts to him. That's awful. It is all the doggies have the makeup of a team where it just sits perfectly for Bont to win a Brownlow. Because, who else is taking votes away?
Well, I mean, Beveridge thinks McRae is a half forward, so that helps Bont out like massively. Like
Yeah.
Bont could get like 60 fucking Brownlow votes. Do you know what I mean?
He might actually poll 40 votes this year.
Because he is. But I mean, again, it just shows that umpires don't really give a shit if you kick goals. Because I thought Bont was really underpolled this year.
It's a good question here. Who's the player that if you were told they will win the Norm Smith next year, you would instantly know that we win the flag as well?
Nick Newman.
Zach Williams.
Nick Newman.
I think when we win the flag, it'll be Zach Williams, Norm Smith. They love a halfback.
They do. I always have a sneaky feeling that it's going to be Jesse Motlop. He loved finals in the waffle. I always get the feeling that Motlop's going to have like a Bobby Hill type game, where he just takes the piss. Like when I was watching Bobby Hill in the final at Collingwood, I was thinking, this is the kind of thing Motlop does. Like, could be that Collingwood fans moaned about Bobby Hill a few weeks before, wasn't snagging, and then he just takes the piss in the final. I can see Motlop being that guy coming into the final. He's got 1 goal in the last 4, and then he just blows up.
Kicks 4.5.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And we're all going mental.
Grand final watch along, mate.
I just want to, mate, grand final watch along will be lit. I love grand finals. I just reckon being in one's a bit better.
Yeah, agreed.
Ashton kicking 1 from each pocket.
How long until he gets a pocket named after him?
Probably the 3rd flag.
Play out his first goal. It's a snap on his left.
You know what? I have a vision of it. Are you ready for the vision? My vision is round start against Brisbane at the Gabba.
Okay.
10 minutes into the first quarter, Walsh hits up Harry, 40 out on an angle. Harry absolutely baboons one. Right? Absolutely fucks it up. And Ashton takes it right on the line of the out of bounds pocket, and I reckon he hits. He gets the hold to the fucking guy on the mark, and he just quickly runs round and snags it with his left.
Okay.
I reckon it's a miss kick from Harry.
I can see it so clearly. Oh, Harry!
I can see me on the watch along going, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" and then Ashton being the first to react and just bobbing it through.
Harry
will be good this year, though. Yeah,
Harry will be great. Harry will be great this year. I think he'll go back to basics.
People need to remember that that's Harry's game since he was a kid. He's never been.
He's always been a little bit. There's always been a little bit of about Harry.
So I just feel he's gonna go back to what he does best, and but I reckon Ashton will be the fortune of that. So they are 11 minutes into his debut. Mops up, kicks a goal for us.
Hey, there's a few bookmarks. There's a few bookmarks we're going to make from this stream.
He'll ruffle his hair, his little mullet, or whatever he's got going on. Not too sure about that hairstyle. I'm trying to work out what he's trying to do with it.
It's the modern mullet. It's shorter.
Looks like he's confused as well.
Yeah. Well, it is the season for a different hairstyle. The Dustin Martin thing started the mullet. Yeah.
I'm enjoying Billy's hair. I like the
long slick back.
He makes it look good, doesn't he?
Yeah. Have you got a haircut lined up for the season? Do you plan such a thing?
I don't know. We might have to do the. I didn't cut my hair, did I, for like last 8 rounds?
Yeah.
Might have to pre-cut it round 0 or whatever the opening round's called. And
I feel like we've got a shave. I feel like we've got a head shave in one more head shave in us.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'll come up. It'll come through. It'll be like a bet or something.
If Carlton lose in Adelaide to Fremantle, I'll shave my head. I was like,
the preview for after that game, you can say it. You already know what's going to happen.
yeah, it was just when I saw. I think you know what. This is chat's fault because they always say "fucking danger game" all the time, and it's affected my thought. It was when they released it. Every Carlton fan was like, "Oh, we've been kissed here. We've been kissed. 4 points." And I was like, "Yeah, we've lost this game."
True. You do have to be careful of that.
I was like, great. This is the game, isn't it? That we all get excited. And I don't think it's a bad loss. My vision for that game is it's going to be like, the St. Kilda game where we absolutely dominate the fuck out of it and we just forget how to finish.
Yeah.
And it's one of them games where you're like, how did you lose that?
You're making me check the schedule. Who do we play after that? Let's have a look. So it's round 4. We play the Dockers, and then the week after we play, funnily enough, the Crows at Marvel.
Yeah, and you know what? You can just see it now. Adelaide will start like a steam train. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got the Suns. They'll beat them.
Yeah,
they'll beat Geelong, and I reckon they'll beat Melbourne. I reckon they'll be 4-0 when they play us. And everyone will be like, "Ooh, Adelaide, they've finally checked in. This is it. Adelaide's to lose." And I just reckon we'll absolutely pull them apart. And
and they'll be pissed. They've got the pissed off factor as well. You can't underestimate a team carrying a weight, and the Crows are carrying a pissed off weight. They feel like they were wronged, which they were.
Yeah, I look at the Crows are that team that I think will surge. But I just feel like you look at some of the times Crows plays teams, you can see complacency kicking in because it's like every 4 rounds, the media like to do that whole thing where they pump your tires up or blow the car up. So because we've got them round 5, you can guarantee they'll be 4-0 and some idiot at SEN or fucking Fox Footy will be like, "Oh my God, Crows are going to win it. Crows are the team to beat," which inevitably it's happened to Carlton a few times. We've absolutely smashed the side we played, like the Port Adelaide game. Port can't keep losing. They've lost players, but they keep winning. They're in form, and then we absolutely pull them apart. And then it was like, now it's Collingwood's to lose, and we absolutely pull them apart. Like, it's how the AFL works. It's, dare I say, it's scripted.
Yeah, well, I think the Crows and the Suns are the teams that will rise into the 8.
Yeah, everyone's hot on Gold Coast, aren't they?
Surely, right? Like, surely all the elements are there. Oh, they're coming from 15th.
Terry, we've said that for 10 years about Carlton.
We have said that for 10 years. I'm getting stuck.
Surely. You know the team that I'm not hot on this year, and I know everyone's going to be like, Pom hates them. I think Giants. I think Giants overachieved last season.
Yeah.
Massively. And I get the feeling that they're going to have... teams will expect it. Teams will expect the style of football. I just don't think they've added anything that changes how they play. So I think that will be... They're the team I think won't struggle, but I don't think they'll be as good.
That's a good point. So how many changes to the 8 can you see? Say the Giants slip out?
I don't think they'll slip out. I think they'll stay. I just think they'll struggle. I think Melbourne slip out.
Out of the 8?
Yeah. When I did my prediction video the other day, I said they were borderline. Now with the Clayton Oliver news, I think that's underlined to me that internally they're in a bad place. I reckon that will affect them.
There is a little something going on at Melbourne.
Doggies, they'll be cooked. And Port, I think Port had the worst trade period I've ever seen. I think that they're going to struggle.
Who they bring in? Radaglia?
Brendan Zirk-Thatcher. So, I mean, as soon as you start bringing in hyphen names, you're fucked. All right. That's Pomerel. I watched a video the other day where someone was talking about Port and they were trying to make out that Sava Ratcliffe was waitering. Saints as well, cooked. Saints
Not
as
a
well.
believer?
Mate, nothing Saints did last year. It was just Ross the boss stuff. But
Can he not do it again?
Like,
With
yeah,
a better look?
I feel like Saints, every game I watched, where Adelaide GWS have got the ability to kick in clusters and kill you, I just don't think St Kilda can ever kill a team. And I think that's a problem.
True.
I think that's a problem. And do you remember last year everyone was saying, oh, Collingwood can't keep winning small games? And I was like, be wary, because winning tight games means you're a good side. I think there was always an element of Collingwood could destroy you. Yeah. Where Saints, they can win tight games, but I think when teams start opening up, I think you're fucked. I think they're fucked. I really do. I think that's why I'm excited Carlton have changed their ball entry in the training footage that we saw when we went there, and the training footage from the last time they trained. It looks like they're trying to be a lot more deeper and quicker. I feel like that's the one thing we lack.
Well, that's the blessing of, and I said this in the Zach Williams preview, that's the blessing of his injury, or the silver lining, if you'll call it, because him coming into the back six means we have to amend and evolve the way we move the ball out of the back half. And for teams to scout Zach Williams now, you've got to watch footage from 2022. And the way we moved the ball back then, completely different to the way we move the ball now. So it's almost like we've almost accidentally stumbled into an evolution of the way we move the ball from the back half.
Yeah, and it's always tough to predict what happened. I mean, like I feel like Suns are getting overhyped because of Dimmer. And Dimmer's game style is so specific. I just don't think the Suns can do it. Right. I think they'll be good, but I just think it's a massive shift from Stuart Dew's dart throwing to a rigid, structured game plan, which I think they need. But I just think it will take them a year or so. I think Jed Walters is going to have to do a lot of work. I think there's a lot of experience required from young players. And I think Dimmer knows that. I think if Dimmer had a coffee and was honest, he hopes they make the 8, but I think he'd be happy with 12th or 11th. I think he'd be happy as if they learnt the system and they finished 10th on 11th. I think he'd be happy with that.
Fair. That's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
He's a bit like us with Voss. I feel like he's going to be like that with them. They'll have a system, but it'll be hard for them to back it in as the season gets harder and people start talking, oh my God, they're 6th.
True.
And that's what happened with us.
True. And it only takes 4 weeks to fuck your season completely.
It's tough. As we know, it's hard. Like, I think we've kind of forgotten how hard it is. But then I look at Gold Coast back half and I don't like it. Yeah. Because they've got Port, Giants, Lions. Anyone will beat the Eagles. Essendon, who always get a token end of season home victory. Melbourne, Richmond to finish.
Wow,
like that's a tough 6 games where I feel that's where we came unstuck. When you've got to start trusting your system. And I feel like it's tough to trust your system when you're... Because I don't think, honestly, no disrespect to Dew, I just don't think he was a very good tactical coach. I think he was coaching... I think he's one of them coaches that coaches on love and affection, which is all well and good, but I don't think it works.
He was their mate.
No disrespect to him. But where Dimmer, I feel like, it's got a plan. Yeah. And I think they'll start to trust the plan once they see it work.
Yeah, I can see them. Yeah. Okay. Well, now that you've just sort of read out their schedule, I mean, I can see them doing a 2022 Carlton. I can see them being 5-1 and then just falling away.
Yeah, I feel like they'll start well. And then you've got to trust it. Saints, I feel like Saints, I just don't see it. Saints are that team, that the only team that played in the 8 last year, there's no player on there that terrifies me.
True.
Like, people say Sinclair, but I think that's just because you're a Carlton fan. And every halfback flanker fucking has 30 touches against Carlton. It's not. It doesn't scare me. Do you know what I mean?
Bryce Gibbs was putting a halfback flank and had 30.
Do you know what I mean? Fucking Cam Paulson could play for another side and probably have 30 off halfback. But I don't look at it like Jack Sinclair. I think he's brilliant, but I don't think he pulls you apart. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he pulls you apart.
It's probably because we lack respect for Jack Sinclair that he gets off so much.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And
that's where the Saints get you. It's because you underestimate them, and they get teams who underestimate them. But if you bring your best, you beat them.
I look at the games that impressed me of the Saints. The Collingwood game, they were like the first team apart from the freak result that Port had against Collingwood.
Yeah.
They were the first to show a chink in Collingwood's armour. But you watch that game back, they just made it boring.
Yeah.
And Collingwood couldn't break them apart, where I feel like that's not great. I don't think that, unless Ross learns. But I thought towards the back half of the year, you saw Ross the boss, that, yeah, it's effective, but he basically bores you to death.
That the game that the second time we played them this season when we beat them, it probably gets overshadowed a bit because we had so many other great performances and they were at the MCG. But I thought that was a big and momentous game for us because I think they had like 51 tackles in the first half. And we mentally broke them in that game.
Yeah. Once you get a run on a game, that's what worries me. Once you get a run on St Kilda and you get 4 or 5 goals ahead, I just don't think they can come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where all the other sides that finished in the top 10, I would say, have the potential to do what Brisbane did to us. Like if we played St Kilda in that final that we played Brisbane, we would have won that by 400. Right? Because once you get ahead, like Peter says, that it's a one-dimensional. Do you know what I mean? It's a one-dimensional midfield. But Brisbane, they have the ability to clip away and then kick 6-7 goals in a row as well. So that lead can go from 40 to 2 in a quarter. Where I think St Kilda would need 8 quarters to bring you back from 60 ahead. Like if you're 60 ahead after the first quarter, St Kilda will start going home. And that's what they'll do. St Kilda would check out. If you take the lead like we did against Brisbane in the final, St Kilda will be back at fucking Moorabbin.
We'll have a relegation.
This. Can't be arsed with this.
Yeah. No.
Very Plus, good. They've got Marshy. Not for me.
That was such a great night. The fan cams that night was so good.
I just can't believe being on Sunrise and literally not being able to sleep for 3 days because you're excited you thought of a shit one-liner. What a melt. Fucking shit. I'll have a cup of warm milk and get you sent to sleep, Marshy. Be right. Fuck me. What a wet life.
Having me on. Having a bubble.
On Sunrise. Imagine having banter on Sunrise as well. Like, fuck me. You know times are tough when you're having banter on Sunrise.
Yeah. When you're talking about Carlton more than your own club.
You know what? If Sunrise called me and said, Pom, can you do a preview of the Carlton game? We need you to get up at 5 a.m. and get down to Marvel. I'd tell them to get fucked. I've got fucking respect. That's what I've got. I've got respect.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I think that'll do us for today. This was great. This was so impromptu, but it's such a good idea.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christmas, I'm pop shotting rival fan channels.
Yeah, I know. We haven't even gotten to New Year yet. Thanks for those that tuned in. I will do another one of these player preview. We'll do them live again, probably next week at some stage. But I will give you all a little bit more notice. So thanks for those who tuned in. If you are here late, we will do live previews, 5 of them in like an hour session. And then I'll download the session and re-upload them individually. I'll add highlights, do my editing, etc., etc. Tonight, 7 p.m., the Adam Sard preview comes out. So stay tuned for that. Pom, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here, mate.
So,
we should do another one. We should do another batch for sure.
Hey, mate, yeah, I love the live. I love the live.
Yeah.
You know me, mate. Hey, I'm all about live. But yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone, as well, because this is probably the last time you'll see us on a live screen before Christmas.
We could do a Christmas night batch.
Oh, fucking, can you imagine Christmas Eve?
I mean, you can tell that I don't have kids.
Christmas Eve stream. Chat, if you want a Christmas Eve stream. Mrs. Pob's just gone no.
Yeah.
Ah,
Amazing.
Sorry, chat. Mrs.
It's not
Pob
happening.
leaves.
All right,
Peace.
guys. Take it easy. See ya.